It was calling me.
On a cool day in early February 2003, we've gone to the boondocks again with Calvin's camera and Gordy Little and a couple of good friends to talk about some interesting things relating to our beautiful Adirondack region. It's amazing with the modern age of electronics what a little email can generate. John Campbell, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Paul Frederick, how are you?
Doing fine.
Glad to be here with you today. John sent me a little email in real time only a few days ago.
That's right, just a few days ago.
Saying, can we talk?
Let's talk. Let's talk face to face.
This is what my lips have been doing for a long, long time, so talking is fine. What was your plan?
Our plan was to let the local community know about a series that Paul and I and John Heliniak are producing called The Hidden Adirondacks, where we're kind of documenting our summer vacation last year, which means we're finding little out-of-the-way places.
If that works, maybe next year's summer vacation, maybe next year.
Tahiti, or, we'll bring the camper across the water. But the series actually is going to air on dozens of PBS stations coming in April, and of course we're going to give your viewers a sneak preview before that.
Hometown Cable graciously accepts your offer,
right?
And that's why we spun our tires to get up here today to talk to you, John. It's a wonderful idea. Calvin has had a dream since the early 80s of promoting this area in many different ways, from its sports to its senior citizens, to its historic places, to its wonderful, colorful, and fascinating people. And he's done hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of shows long before I joined him after leaving the radio in 1997. So anybody who decides to promote the Adirondack region in any way is automatically a friend of ours.
Well, I'm a transplant to the Adirondack region. Paul's a lifelong resident, and when I first came up here a few years ago, he had said, you've got to discover the Adirondacks. It's not just for hiking and sporting type things. There's so much to this region. So I said, all right, grab your camera and let's go, and that's what we did. So we're thrilled and honored to be able to do a series like this, and to get it out on so many stations across the country is another delight for us. It's an added bonus. So millions of people are really going to see what the Adirondacks have to offer.
Paul, you got a nice little studio here.
Yeah, it's great. The technology today allows you to do broadcast quality television work without having to have $150,000 worth of gear. I mean, this is just standard computer. I mean, it's kind of souped up. It's got a pretty big hard drive for the video and all, but that and the cameras are small, lightweight, fairly inexpensive, so we were able to get this going relatively, not a lot of out-of-pocket expense, because I already had this equipment for my own personal company, which is a production company, so we were able to get it going. We're still looking for funding and support for it, but that's an ongoing trek, and hopefully sooner or later we'll
I
get
eat way more food than you guys do, so we're looking for even more funding.
Right.
But it is fun.
Yeah, and it's the idea is the Hidden Adirondacks is the name of the show, and we're trying to promote the more hidden, out-of-the-way tourist places. Some of the places we go to are a little more well-known locally, like we went to the Adirondack Museum in Blue Mountain Lake, and
as we did, and what a great
but this is going to air in such a big market that someone in Buffalo, it's hidden to them. They may not know about it, or someone in New York City or Philadelphia. We actually got Colorado station to pick it up. So.
Did you really?
In Iowa. I guess they don't have too many mountains in Iowa, so they want to see what they look like.
We've referred to the Adirondack region more than once as a sleeping giant.
Yeah.
And there is a tremendous impetus ongoing as we sit in your studio or stand in your studio to get tourists to come back. Because when we lost the Canadian tourism for a large measure because of the Canadian dollar and the terrible discrepancy between the $2. So if we can get people from Colorado, and we can get people from Louisiana,
even New York City, a lot of people in New York City, they think New York kind of stops at Albany. They don't know about the mountains even. So it's kind of a what do you call it? A passion. It's a labor of love, I guess. This whole series.
Those are words and phrases that Calvin and I have used over and over and over again. You can't live here for very long, or even visit for more than a week or two, without developing a passion. And I've been here for way over 40 years. Calvin spent his entire lifetime here in the Champlain area, and there are still many things that are hidden. A few weeks ago, we did a talk about far out of the way places. We did a program at a place called Camp Kettle, a hunting camp up near Wolf Pond, in the middle of nowhere, through dirt roads and gated places. And I would never, if they left me there, I'd still be there wandering around the trees. But the reason I mention that is because the response has been fabulous. I don't know how many copies of the program people have demanded to watch in their own living rooms. So there are a lot of hidden places.
Yeah,
a lot of interesting things to see. For just a moment, I want to mention to people that you guys have had experience. You just didn't meet over a fence somewhere and said, let's make a series. You've had experience.
Yeah,
doing
I worked for 11 years at the Mountain Lake PBS in Plattsburgh, and then, with the affordability of the equipment, I decided it was time to jump out on my own and give it a shot. And, we did some programs at Mountain Lake, trekking around the Adirondacks, and this was an idea that I had while I was still working there, but wanted to get it going. And so after leaving there and kind of getting myself established as a production place and paying for my equipment, then John and I started talking, and we decided let's give it a go. So that's how.
Is that where you first met, John?
That's where Paul and I first met. Yeah,
that's where you and I first met, I believe.
Yeah, it was.
One of the many fun drives.
Oh well, yeah, many fundraisers. Yeah, I don't know if I missed those too much, but they were they were a lot of fun at the time. But yeah, Paul and I had met when I had come to this area about 3 years ago. I was with PBS affiliates across the country and landed up here and said, this is it. This is where I want to stay, just because of the beauty and the people. They just bring you right in. It's amazing. And then once we both were on our own, bells went off on our head, and then we pulled in John Heliniak, who's our production assistant and graphic artist. He too was with PBS, so kind of the three of us got together and said, let's pool our talents, and that's kind of the result of the Hidden Adirondacks. And Paul's got another special coming out even before that for PBS, so things are really starting to spin in the right direction for us.
Well, I'm a believer in PBS.
Yeah, we
since
think
leaving
it's
the
great.
commercial radio business, I don't mind telling our viewers that I listen to public radio all the time.
Right.
We have a North Country Public Radio.
right.
We've got VPR, and the concept is a good one.
Yeah, and they put programs on that a commercial station wouldn't touch. I mean, the other show I'm working on is called Adirondack Visions, and it's basically a collection of pretty pictures edited to music, and it's meant to be kind of a souvenir for people that come visit the Adirondacks to take home. And PBS said they'll air it, which I guarantee you not too many commercial stations would put a show on with no talking, because there's no talking in it. It's just music, and that's a rare thing, and it's nice to find a place that will still put something like that on the.
And while we're at it, even though we don't show his picture often, he gets on several times a year as we do retrospective shows. Calvin started this thing called Hometown Cable many years ago. Is it 20 years already, Calvin? Huh? In June it'll be 20 years.
Amazing.
So a tribute to this one guy
Right.
who does it all in his little studio in Champlain, and it gives me an opportunity to still keep those lips flapping as I did for so many years on the radio. So the public access has a great place, and if more communities would take advantage of it in the way Calvin does, I think it would open up those doors.
It would, because even in the PBS world, they do a really good job of getting a lot of programming on, but then there's some other program that's just too localized for even PBS stations. So, local access channel is perfect to put those kinds of events on. The sporting events that we all see, and plays and all that stuff. It's great to see on cable access too. So.
How many different episodes have you done with this program?
Well, we're planning on doing 13 episodes. We've gotten, how many do we have shot? Seven shots. So,
four.
And we're going to be going, and we're actually still out there filming. We've got the camper warming
These are
up
people that
now.
actually edit.
Yeah, we actually edit, which we're a little jealous when we hear that, a 2-hour program's edited in 2 hours. For us, it's a couple of weeks. But we try to keep it as true to form as possible. I mean, we break down in the camper, and instead of cutting away and getting the camper fixed and coming back, we show the camper breaking down, and we show it getting fixed. And it's kind of this, as Paul
Get the
had
sympathy
said.
vote, right?
Yeah, exactly. Paul had mentioned at one point to an interview we were doing with the local newspaper that it's reality TV for PBS, and it's a little off the path for PBS, I'll admit, and I think that's why so many stations are saying, let's try it, let's give it a shot. So,
Well, we're very grateful that you've allowed us to come into your little inner sanctum today
Sure.
and to show your program on our little hometown cable and the various cable systems throughout the North Country, because even though we don't edit, we've worked very, very hard to make our little corner a successful program. And Calvin makes sure that many of the older episodes are shown that the late Bob Venn did before I came on board. And the perspective we have after all these years is a really big slice of North Country life. And that's what you're doing in another way here. So that's pretty neat.
Yeah, we are. And we hope to continue the tradition. But I think you're right as far as public access. I think it's a matter of an educational process for different communities. And I think there's a real good model right here in this area. And I'm not even sure if your viewers understand how lucky they are to have that outlet.
Well, they have if they've come here from other places, and our response is we get many, many queries and comments from people all the time, like, how come you're still using a microphone? Join the... I say, because I've held a microphone in this hand for my entire adult life. If my fingers would twitch if I didn't have something in it. So it doesn't matter to me if it doesn't matter to you. You know what I'd like to do? I'd like to show our viewers a little bit of one of your episodes.
That'd be great. I think we have the first episode lined up, which is a trip to Warrensburg, New York, and we're visiting this little garage sale that happens there every year.
I love it. And I might mention to our viewers now that at the end of our interview, and we will be spending a little time actually in and around that famous or infamous camper.
The famous camper.
To show people what the focus is of your traveling. At the end of this interview, we'll be showing an entire episode. They're about
26:46 to be exact, because that's the time PBS wants for a half-hour show. But
that makes
we're gonna
perfect sense to me.
Yeah.
Almost the
Nice
same
round number.
almost the same length as the old one-reelers way back when in the movie theaters, right?
Yeah.
26, 28 minutes.
Well, that gives them time to put a little fun underwriting, which is corporate sponsorship before and
A
after.
magic word for people like us.
Magic word pays the bills.
You got that right. So let us begin and show a little bit of this.
Yeah, we'll show you what we got queued up. This is our open to the program that will be on the beginning of every show, but it just kind of wets your whistle for what the exploits follow are
all
about.
for wetting my whistle anytime. Let's go for it.
Here we go. I'll get out of the way here. Well, there you go.
I love it.
It's all about the
My
camper.
appetite is whetted. We're going to move to your home and chat a little more, and then we're going to look at
Our graphic artist, John Heleniak, is supposed to meet us, and we'll get to see the camper there. So
That's really great.
let's head over.
Thanks again for inviting us here today.
Sure.
We're having fun.
See you guys.
I have to confess. No, you won't. You won't hear the punchline that just came before the red light came on. I mean, we don't have many parameters for this show, but I got to tell you, some of the best shows I've ever done with Calvin are around a table about this size. It's really great. There's always an escape route, and in case things go bad, generally there's a coffee pot somewhere. We're in Paul's house.
Yes, welcome. And we got our graphic artist and production assistant, John Heleniak, is with us. And
Drinking all with Paul's coffee.
I could come out with all those old trite titles and call you guys the Three Musketeers or...
Three Stooges were called. Three Stooges.
Now you see, I didn't do that.
We just beat you to the punch, Corey. That's all. Yeah.
So, John, how did you ever team up with these two guys?
I have a lot of time on my hands, Gordy, and
Yeah, I think we have too much time.
I had way too much time. And I've known Paul for years and John for years, and they said we're doing a little show. You want to help out? I said sure. They gave us a little rundown of the show and sounded like fun. Really, it was all about fun. And we travel around. We see a lot of the Adirondacks. We see a lot of everything. And there's a bunch of boys having fun.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love the way you promote the show and,
Yeah.
and the way you do it. You're
Yeah.
my kind of people.
I like to say, you know, it's I can't believe we get paid for it, but well, we don't get paid for it. So it's okay. At this point,
We don't ever say that about ourselves. John, give us a little bit of your background, where you're originally from and how you got involved in this graphic art thing.
Years and years and years ago, I'm from Toronto. Moved to Ithaca, got married there, moved here, and now I'm been working at PBS for about 10 years. And like these guys, I got disenfranchised at PBS and hooked up with these guys. Been doing graphic design, corporate identity, brochures, advertising. Got my own business now. And these guys said, "You got your own business? Come with us.
Yep.
Come on our pilgrimage."
You're not getting paid like us?
Nah, yeah, come on our pilgrimage. Come to us. Yeah.
But how did your interest get sparked initially in graphic design? Did you go to school in Ithaca?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Cornell or?
Ithaca College.
Ithaca
In
College,
I like
great
that.
school,
Yeah,
good
yeah.
football
Went to
team.
school in Toronto, and I just like pretty pictures. You know, it just drive me nuts when something looks bad. You go, I can do better. I can do better than that. It's like anybody does anything. You know. I don't care if it's
A sample of some of John's. This is the other show I'm working on, and this is the VHS box. It kind of folds all up.
Fold up, Paul.
You can. It's hard to tell how
like
it folds
origami.
now, but as you can see, John's very talented. He did that poster.
Let me hold this one up.
That one.
Too close, Cal?
That one promotes our series that we're trying to get out. Put that poster out in different locations, let people know that it's coming. And John took the picture and then designed all of it. And,
They're big heads.
Looks like a scary movie.
I think he's got the wrong person in the front there.
Yeah.
But
We tried to
other
blur
than
Paul.
I think it was
John kept going, more blur on Paul, more blur on Paul.
Now, besides using the computer to make these beautiful pictures, we all love beautiful pictures, but it's only rare that somebody has a talent like yours. So we're going to give credit where credit is due.
Yeah.
Do you draw and paint?
Actually, I don't do any of that. That sort of stuff, I'm just amazed at. Paul, if you look
Paul
around the
does,
place,
though,
Paul
yeah.
is, this thing's Paul's.
Yeah,
all the
that's
artwork here is
fine.
Paul's. And people who do pure
Talk
artwork.
about the hidden Adirondack.
Yeah.
Well, that's the hidden
That's-
Colorado.
yeah.
Actually, that's not so hidden.
Yeah, but people do pure art like that. Those people impress me. You know, I can hire those people to do illustrations and stuff. I just organize space.
And you do it very well.
Thanks.
That's 13 years ago? You're
Yeah.
only 7
Yeah.
years old?
Actually, I went to Plattsburgh State for media and took art. I almost minored in art. Then I realized, how am I ever going to make any money doing art?
I think the same thing now, aren't you, Paul?
Yeah, now I'm thinking the same thing about television. But so I just took some art classes because I had to, and then I took a few more because I liked it, and then I realized,
Yeah.
I didn't know at the time how to make any money being an art major, but I guess you can. John was, and
Calvin and I, although we're only mildly creative, and I speak for myself, enjoy the company of creative people because even when they're just sitting there, you can see things happening.
Wheels are spinning all the time.
And you always have to have a text and a subtext. And while you're sitting here, I can see John saying, yeah, well, maybe I could have, and,
A little
I like
different.
the ducks right there. That's okay.
Well, a big part of our website too, John had created, as far as the visuals, John and Paul, you created the retro 70s kind of look. And we incorporated that into our website as well. So
we haven't mentioned the website.
Yeah.
Talk about it.
we have a website, thanks to our good friends at Media Central here in Plattsburgh. They were good enough to partner with us and put up a website that's called Hidden Adirondacks, all one word, .com. Of course, put the 3 W's ahead of that. And it tells you all about the series, tells you a little bit about the three of us, tells you about our camper guard dog. It gives you a virtual tour of the camper, tells you about all the different episodes. So,
On King.
yeah. Dog's got her own website. So that's how.
Izzy gets more mail than we do.
She does, actually. His own
really?
email address, yeah.
Yeah,
Very strange.
we bring John's dog along on most shoots just because the dog's kind of neurotic to leave behind. So the dog
Yeah.
comes on all of our shoots, but
It's neurotic with us instead.
Yeah,
No, you know,
she's been great.
she's about 10 years old, so you hate to leave her at home. She likes to travel.
did you spend the entire summer doing this last year?
Yeah, we did. When did we start? About in May, right?
No, well, yeah, we started conceptualizing in May, started shooting in June, through July and August,
Yeah.
and then
Then even through
September,
October.
yeah, we did the Warrensburg garage sale, which is the first episode that you'll be able to see right after our talk here, and that was in October, and we're still going to shoot some stuff in the winter. And
This weekend coming up, we're going to be shooting actually at the Winter Carnival. It's
Sounds
Lake.
yeah.
I will be there.
Well,
Yeah.
that's good.
I'll have many layers on. You won't recognize me.
Yeah.
You're saying, "There's the abominable snowman," as I
Yeah.
waddle down by the...
You can help us push the camper. 'cause-
Yeah.
We gotta get to that.
you don't see too many campers in the winter, and I
No,
think
there's
we're
a
gonna
reason
find
for
out
that.
why.
Lines freeze. Gasoline doesn't like to get all the way into the carburetor.
Well, and the heater doesn't work in a camper right now, so we got to figure out that. But
We'll bring Izzy.
we'll warm
Yeah,
up.
Yeah. Pull Izzy.
Well, you're going to show us how to get that furnace going, right?
Yeah, I'll do that too one of these days. The Winter Carnival is always so much fun, and in case our viewers are watching this at some other time, and we like to come back to these programs many years later because we're creating a piece of history as we sit around this table. But we've had some cold weather in the North Country, and the Winter Carnival is going to be spectacular because of that. People say, no, you don't want it cold. Yeah, you want it pretty cold. And we're shooting this a few days before the parade, which is kind of fantastic. Temperatures will be 20-some degrees. The Winter Carnival Ice Palace or Ice Castle is spectacular.
My son had a hockey tournament in Saranac Lake last weekend, and we all went to the Ice Castle, his first time, and it's beautiful. I mean,
Kids-
oh yeah, they love it.
My
Yeah.
kids will
Yeah.
go over and sit on the ice for
Yeah.
half an hour. If I did
And there's
that,
pennies
we'd
inside
have
the-
to
there's-
have an ambulance.
There's like pennies inside the ice, and kids are trying to chip out all the pennies.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
And
that's
they've
good.
done that
Yeah.
all throughout the history
Yeah.
of building
Yeah.
the ice castle. They never put quarters in there.
No.
Because I've always got a very sharp knife or a big ice pick. But anyway, you guys do have a lot of fun, and I want to mention before we go any farther that unlike this program called Our Little Corner and others that Calvin does, a substantial amount of editing is done. So you just don't go on the road as we do and produce a 2-hour show in 2 hours. You shoot, how much for each episode?
Well, we
would you
actually
guess?
we're pretty. We go pretty light on the taping. We shoot kind of in sequence of how we're going to be editing it, and usually we shoot maybe 2 hours of raw footage for a half-hour show.
Depending how John's doing it for us.
Yeah, depending on as people will see during our credits, we roll the bloopers and the outtakes as the credits are going, and
But that's half the fun.
that's
Yeah.
half
I
the whole
usually get
show.
it
That's
the
half our
first
show.
This program is edited occasionally. One time I had my finger so far up my nose that you couldn't see you couldn't see more than the first knuckle, and Calvin stopped the tape and said, "You don't really want that."
That's good stuff.
I thought it was pretty good. But anyway,
Yeah, and then it usually takes probably 2 to 3 days to edit one episode, and we do voiceovers, and so we shoot usually in a day, a couple 2-3 hours of tape, then we edit in 2 to 3 days, and that's it for the show.
And Paul does a lot of work on his own, but then the three of us get together and we kind of add a different perspective to it as well. And we're all pretty open with each other. And if I've goofed, someone will say, I
no
think you were real bad there."
massive fights.
No,
not a lot of ego
it's-
I like that part.
It's funny because people around us will hear, what's all the laughing that's going on all the time? with you
Paul's
guys?
wife Terry, she's up here. Paul and I downstairs editing. If John's down here too, all she hears is like laughter downstairs. She goes, "Okay."
Yeah.
Those
What are you
buddies
guys doing
They're
down
working
there?
real hard
Yeah.
down there.
Well, the show's all about it's all about having fun, and I think that shows. And if the viewer sees that we're having a lot of fun, it just makes the show more fun to watch. And
Now, if you could transfer the passion and the humor and the other things we've mentioned to some of the commercial television stations and young people who get in the business and think that just because they're delivering serious news, they can never smile, then you would have accomplished something. And that's the beauty of what you do, and hopefully a little bit of the beauty of what we do. Because if you can't laugh, you can't live. And
Yeah.
I know almost everybody in the business, the audio and video business, within 100 miles of where we're sitting right now, and I love to talk to people about that. And mostly what I say when they ask me what can I do better is loosen up.
You gotta have fun.
Yeah.
Up.
You got to have fun, and that's the chemistry that the three of us have. I mean, we spent literally all summer together, and if we didn't have that chemistry and laugh through the whole summer, and not to say we didn't take the show seriously, because we do, we take it very seriously. But when it comes to goofing up and breaking down and what have you, I mean, the world doesn't cave in. We move on.
Yeah, we
like it.
and we film it.
Yeah.
We were headed down to the
The
Fiddlers
Fiddlers.
Hall of Fame over in the southwestern Adirondacks.
Near
It was a
Osceola.
Sunday morning. We're heading down the Northway, and all of a sudden we just started to smell something, and we heard a bang.
That's
We
a-
thought-
not a good
We
thing.
thought, was that something or wasn't it? And then we said, well, it's kind of going away, so maybe it's fixed itself. And then we said, no, we better pull over. So we pulled over and checked, and it was the water pump belt.
Yeah.
Sunday morning, and we're in the middle of nowhere, and
On our way to shoot for
so
a
we
week.
taped the whole thing, and pulling the belt out, and we're kind of laughing. I mean, what else can you do? You know?
Desitels came and picked us up and towed us back to Plattsburgh.
Took we were there for 3-4 hours. I called my brother-in-law. He came down, picked us up, brought us back, and
But even
camper
that was,
guys,
but
I
even that
I
was an adventure.
I was supposed to meet these guys down there. His message on the cell phone, camper broken in.
not much reception.
And my son Jesse goes, who's that? I go, it's Paul. Camper broke down again. Oh, okay.
No big deal.
Okay. I thought something bad.
But we
So-
broke down next to that. Remember that antique shop we were at, and I ended up spending I don't know how much money while we were
Just said
sitting
more
there.
antiques than on the camper. Yeah.
So we ended up missing that event because that was a once in a summer event. But
There are others.
We'll go
Yeah,
back.
Life is an adventure.
Yeah.
Yep.
And as long as you find some humor and have some perspective about all the terrible things that have happened in your life, instead of dwelling on it, just move on to the next chapter. Let me ask you one thing that dawns on me here. How do your family support what you do?
Well, there are worse habits to have, so I think
Like
everybody
sticking your
here.
finger way up
Yeah,
there
yeah.
on television.
So this is kind of a good habit for us.
we actually bring them along on a couple of
Yeah.
Yeah,
couple
the kids-
of
the kids
times
like
we
it.
brought them
Yeah.
along. They
course.
pile in the camper and
Yeah, you'll see in a lot of the
We go and visit.
episodes.
Yeah.
A
We're
lot
trying
of
to
the
hide them.
episodes.
Shh, quiet. The kids are
you'll
giggling.
keep seeing in episodes the same kids in the background.
Yeah.
Well, that's just because there are kids running around and enjoying the
Yeah,
event.
you stand there and look like a revolutionary
Right.
soldier, and you
They're getting real good at it too.
Yeah, they
these
really are.
guys,
Yeah.
They don't look at the camera
No.
anymore. They just kind of do their own thing.
Then there's other times where we
Just
going
us.
too far and it's just us. So,
Yeah.
but they don't mind it. They seem to enjoy it. And
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to. Sometimes things like what you're doing, and I come back to the word passion, can strain marriages. It's like enjoying the game of golf.
Yeah, right. Well, you remember too when we were working at PBS at our different locations, there was a lot of hours going to doing that kind of work as well between the pledge drives and all the local productions. So I work. I would assume the same with you guys. I
Yeah.
work a lot less now, so the stress isn't as nearly as what it used to be.
John's responsible for funding, so it's nice to hear that he's working a lot less.
Thanks, John. Than you ever worked before.
than ever before.
Explains a lot.
Do any of you guys do other things for a living besides?
This is what we're doing now. This is what we're
Well,
working
not
every
just
day.
one show,
Yeah.
but
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
television.
no, I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
There, we all work with different stations. Like John's worked with different stations in the state, and I do as well. And I know
Paul's got his
Paul
own
does.
business. I have my own business, and John
Yeah.
has his own business. But
Yeah.
we kind of got together for this two
But-
things.
A lot of people who are good friends, who have great creative talent and some resources, have tried what you're doing here. And unfortunately, many have failed because ultimately, if you don't have a few bucks coming in to support this, and if you can't sell the show
Right.
to networks or public television somehow, then it's hard to sustain it unless
that's
you're
why-
independently wealthy.
Oh, yeah.
None of us
Right.
are.
Well, that's why we all have other little things we're working on that pays the bills, and this is kind of a grand experiment and a labor of love. But we're able to get by on our other jobs that we're doing. So
And the cooler
So-
beer on the camper kind of helps too.
Yeah.
So, we talked before about 13 episodes.
yeah.
The Adirondacks is a big region of New York State, and there are a lot of things that are hidden, as we've already told the people. Do you think there might be a spin-off of the not so hidden Adirondacks?
Well, it's funny. We're actually talking to PBS stations, and we're now just starting to talk to the Learning Channel and Outdoor Network and venues like that on maybe doing something called the Hidden New England or the Hidden Mohawk Valley or the Hidden Capital Region or Quebec or whatever. So we're talking about some spin-offs in that regard.
That way, the difference is when you go to a commercial place, they fund the show, and then they're
Right.
responsible for finding the commercials, the sponsors for the show, and they just pay you for the series. And we're dreaming of that day.
Not altogether a bad idea.
Yeah, we're working on that. So you could see the Hidden Adirondacks down the road on
A&E,
A&E,
Travel Channel.
Travel
Yeah,
Channel.
we're gonna shop that around, and if they think that's too regional, then we're gonna go to a bigger.
We'll take
you
the
know-
same model and just move it somewhere else.
We do have the idea of, and this is I think because we want to travel more than anything, but Roadside America, which we'd like to take a bigger RV, one that might make it
Run.
across the country, and find unique places like the Concrete Museum or the biggest ball of twine or something like that across America.
You know, those roadside attractions, there's still
Yeah,
some of them
they're
that
great.
exist.
Oh,
when
yeah,
I was a
yeah.
kid, they were everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
You'd have a group of dinosaurs here, or
Yeah.
you'd have,
Right.
you know, a
I've
little
seen
theme
that.
park like Ardo Monocles, or that biggest
Right.
ball of twine, or
Right.
or a crocodile museum, or whatever.
They're out there.
My mind is spinning now that we all get together. It's amazing how the juices
Oh,
once
yeah.
they get flowing. And I write ghost stories, and I love ghost stories. There are a lot
Yeah,
of
there's a lot.
There is, yeah.
haunted places here in the North Country.
Sure
And I
is.
can see you doing a series. Books have been written on
Oh, yeah.
haunted hotels
Mhm.
of America. But how about haunted buildings in
Yeah.
the Adirondacks?
Well, yeah, that and
Story behind
ghost
it.
stories in the Adirondacks. Yeah,
You
Come
Sure.
up with the funding, Gordy. We'll do
Yeah,
it
go
tomorrow.
yours.
Get the
If I
checkbook
come
out.
up with the funding, you'll never smell one penny of it. I'll use the first $5 to buy lunch, and after that, I want to just have just a small diversion before we go outside. Calvin always twitches, but when we spend so long talking in one place, because I forget that his pictures have to go along.
Right.
But I want to talk a little bit about the Frederick family, because you have a very interesting family that does a lot of things. Talk about your family.
Well, yeah, we kind of live in what's called the Frederick compound, which is similar to the Kennedy compound. We all bought this big chunk of land. Actually,
I'm going
my
to drop some
Yeah.
names. You might as well start.
Yeah, no kidding.
my parents had a big piece of property, and we all kind of bought little chunks off of their property, and kind of just
Like Branch Davidians,
all
kinda.
lived in an area, but it's so spread out that we really can't see each other's places, so it's pretty private. But my brother Steve Frederick, who works at the Clinton Community College, lives up here. My parents and my grandparents, and not too far away, through a couple wood paths, is my sister and her husband. So the kids can all run through the woods and see their cousins when we don't have to worry about them getting hit by a car. And it's kind of nice.
I thought it was kind of cool when most of the Castines live near each other up there in Champlain. But
Yeah.
this is a great idea, and it's not completely unique, but almost unique in the North Country. And your family group is your primary group, right? And then you expand out from there. So it's kind of nice.
Yeah, and what happens is when we go on the road, it's not too hard to find a sitter. Usually, I just call my brother or sister or parents and say, "Can you watch Ben for the day?" And
The big thing is, are there any mechanics in your
Yeah.
no, as you can, I'm
No.
certainly not one of them because
None of us are.
Well, we did an interview with a newspaper in Glens Falls, and one of the way they described us was mechanically challenged men, because none of us can fix that camper when it
Yeah.
breaks down. We always got.
Yeah, the three of us look in there. And
What do you think that
Yeah,
goes
it's-
to? I don't know.
It's a round thing, and there's smoke coming out of it. Now what
Doesn't
do we
look
do?
good.
You know, the AAA has been our best investment, actually. I just renewed our AAA membership, by the way, the other
yeah.
day for RV
Too
Plus.
bad you're not old enough for AARP. They're pretty good too.
We'll take it.
And get the map and show us how to get to Waylandsburg.
Exactly.
Tow us there. Just tow us there.
Yeah, tell us.
So it's from one to the other.
Believe me, it's deja vu for me, because I've been towing old campers with old cars, and the guys from the AARP travel service come along and say, "Oh my God, you got this and you got this, and nothing works, and there's smoke coming from all sides of this. Well, we'll tow you here and we'll
Yeah,
tow
we know
you
about
there.
that.
And maybe
We
can,
broke down in Glens Falls on one of our first shoots. The front brake caliper locked up, We went to a garage, we're driving down the road and it's pulling and smoking
And we're laughing.
Yeah, we're kind of like laughing, and we pull into this one garage, and he says, "I can't lift that camper; it's too heavy for my lift." And we like, "Uh-oh."
Now what?
Now what? So then we got on the phone, called around, and finally found a place that would take us in. So we had to kind of nurse it to the other garage, and we were there for about 8 hours while they're fixing the brake caliper. But they were great because
I was going to say just what you were going to say. People are so gracious. Once we tell them what we're doing, not that they wouldn't be gracious anyway, but just overextending the hospitality. For instance, that day when we got the camper fixed, we had the option of sitting around for 8 hours, or as the mechanic suggested, let me take you down to the mall. So he got us in his car and drove us down to the mall. Paul and I went shopping. He came back and got us. And the car was
And they
fixed.
stayed late. Him and another gentleman, they stayed late and worked on it well after. It was probably 7:38 because they wanted to get us back on the road, and we didn't want to have to spend the night in Glens Falls.
Well, and to tell you about the character of this guy, Gary Smith, on the 4th of July, was traveling with the camper, and it was just me and my girls, and I broke down near Glens Falls again.
That'd be John and his daughters.
That would
not
just
John
be me.
And his girls.
Yeah, my girls, my 2 daughters.
Charlie's Angels.
Yeah.
Clarifying here.
It's a family show. Anyway, it was the 4th of July, and now what am I going to do? So I called Gary at home. Within 10, 15 minutes, he was there and had me back on the road and fed me and the kids dinner, and it was just amazing, And he gave up his whole 4th of July to make sure that I got back on the road.
And we actually listed him on our credits of our
Yeah,
poster.
he's going to be he's in the show. He's in one of the
So
shows.
we don't have a lot of people involved with the show, so on this poster we did it like a movie.
You got John Munson in there?
John Munson's my brother-in-law, and he's the one who came and picked us up
come on.
when we broke down.
Bowling alley.
You don't have to tell me where. No, you don't have to tell anybody where John Munson's from.
And then we got Gary Smith. He's listed as our
Mechanic
official
South.
mechanic south, and we've got an official mechanic north because we're always having mechanics work on our.
They're
on the
speed
camper.
dialed right now. Yeah.
I was sitting somewhere eating dinner, and a woman walked up to me whom I had never met the other night and said, "How do you come up with all those topics for your shows?" I said, "I defer to Calvin. It's his program." And most of the time, Calvin reads the papers, scans television, thinks of a friend he met somewhere, and I do the same. In this case, it was an email that came from John to me making a suggestion, which I think was terrific. And the minute I asked Calvin about it, it worked out very well. And I'm sure people will ask you, how do you decide on a topic? Is that a lengthy thing, or does it just...
As far as, for us, for locations, as far as topics for programs go, we're always thinking of a million different stories. But this show in particular, we go through a lot of travel books and do our research, and we're trying to find those places that are really out of the way for the majority of the audience, and maybe it doesn't cost as much to get in. We're trying to find places that are reasonable as well. And we did a pretty good job with that. And we're trying to get every corner, too, of the Adirondacks, so all viewers, can get to at least every corner.
Plus, tell them the contest on the website.
It's true. We really
contest.
had.
We
We
have a
have
big
time,
prize.
but yeah, we have and you're eligible for this too, you guys. We have a contest where people can email us their suggestions, and if it's not on our list and we use their suggestion, we'll bring them with us and film them in our show during that show, and give them pick them up in the camper.
If there's a free lunch, I might consider it.
We'll show up with bagels. We tell them.
Bagels are good.
Until they see the camper now.
Calvin
so
brings
it's
the
not that
cream
great a deal.
cheese.
Yeah. So there's that going on.
Yeah, but it does require a little bit of thought.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
And sometimes I imagine you've had an idea that didn't pan out too well, like the thing you missed when the
When the camper broke down.
camper broke
Yeah.
down.
That happens.
It does happen, and weather too. We have to have. You have to have decent weather depending on where you're going. And we were pretty fortunate. This summer it was nice, and we got a lot of good days.
One of the really neat places we did was in Old Forge. It's called Tickner's. What's it called?
Tickner's Canoe Outfitters.
Yeah.
They do a canoe trip up the Moose River. It's like,
River and rail.
That's what it's called, the River and Rail. And you take a canoe trip up the Moose River, and then you take the canoe out and you put it on a train, and then you take the train back. So it's
7 miles.
In this
7
case, you
miles.
put the camera on the canoe and you didn't
Yeah,
tip
we
over
went.
it, you
No,
didn't-
he was good.
No,
He was great.
I-
We were worried about him dropping it in the water, and then that would have been the end of that.
Yeah.
Who paddled?
Well, John was with
I
the
paddled.
guys.
Oh, okay.
I was in another canoe with another guide, so we had two very experienced paddlers on the back of each of our canoes.
It always
so-
helps.
Yeah.
That sounds like a
I was
great...
That was a fun
currently
trip.
waiting for one of them to fall in the water, so it would be Paul or John. So.
Yeah, there's there are a few little bloopers that happen in that show as
Yeah.
well. We're not afraid to show the bloopers and the mess ups.
guess what? They do whole shows on bloopers on television, and they're more successful sometimes than the original programs were.
True, yeah.
So, no, we're not afraid to show our bloopers and many other things, too.
Right.
Yeah, that too. We'd love to get a picture of that wonderful creature out there.
I'd
That
love to show you the camper.
A
It's,
retro camper. Yeah.
It's
Wheezing
it doesn't
up
have a
right
lot
now.
of miles on it, but it's getting old.
now it's also possible that somebody who has a lot of money is watching this program. It's a topic Calvin and I bring up quite often, and we've never had any response yet except
yet.
for a little old lady and says, "I enjoy your show. Here's $5."
Yeah.
That wouldn't even fill up your gas tank. But in case somebody out there sells campers and they've got a
Yeah.
1997, doesn't have to be much bigger, but
No,
if it were much
no.
newer, that would
That's right. It would help, and if anyone does want to sponsor the show, a corporation or something,
Sure.
go to our website. There's contact information there, hiddenadirondacs.com.
And we are working with, there are a lot of organizations that we're working with now that we're looking to fill that up by the April release date. So PBS will get it, we call it nationally because there's so many stations that will air this. You guys will actually be the first to show it, which is kind of
I
neat.
like that.
Yeah.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
How many PBS stations so far?
We are in 100 different markets, so a lot of states are statewide. Like Vermont, for instance, is a statewide. New Hampshire's a statewide. So we count the different markets. There's probably 60 or 70 different stations across the country. But it goes as far as Colorado, into the Midwest, down into Florida for all the snowbirds that are down there that want to see the series.
And there are many from this area.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think we're most proud of with this show and Paul's show that's coming out called Adirondack Visions is that people that can't get out, and be as maybe flexible to travel through the Adirondacks like we are. This gives them a good opportunity to kind of see what's out there,
Or plan next summer, something like that. too.
Yeah.
You know what I also find out that thousands, tens of thousands of people have been here. Were stationed on the Air Force base.
That's right.
Vacationed here, lived here, and never a day goes by when I check all the dozens and dozens of email messages I get, never a day goes by without hearing from somebody who saw my newspaper column while they were looking up some keyword like Michigans or stone walls or whatever, and who rediscovers the Plattsburgh area. And anybody who's lived in this Adirondack region or spent any time here wishes they could come back, haven't been able to. And so your piece will be for example, if it's shown in Arizona, how
Right.
many people from this area have retired to Arizona and who will see it on their local PBS station and will call their neighbors and
Yeah, that's the beauty of all this. We're putting smiles on people's faces. It's pretty important, and you're right. There are thousands of people that will there'll be millions of people that will see this, and you got to wonder how many of those people are feeling nostalgic for the Adirondacks that used to be here.
don't you love it?
Yeah. Even if we have to eat macaroni and cheese for the rest of our life.
I happen to like mac and cheese myself. Just keep it away from the dog. All right, let's go out and look at the camper. What do you say? I just want to know if you kick the tire every time you come out to see if there's
Yeah, we do. We're very nice to the camper. We talk nice to her and we treat her well.
Actually, we've kidded a lot about this camper because it deserves it, right?
It certainly does. Yeah.
But for being so old, and you said it's only got 40,000 miles.
Just went over 40,000 miles, and other than the few little mishaps we've had, it was pretty good. It started up after a few months and sitting in the ice, fired right up.
But some of those 40,000 miles are hard.
Yeah,
It gets warm in the summer in there too.
it gets warm in the summer and it stays cool in the winter, and
Some were saying it's so hot in here. It's so hot in here. Until we realized we had the heater on.
yeah,
And now that it's 6 degrees above zero, it ran for 45 minutes and it didn't get very warm inside.
No, and the engine's kind of under the floor, so as you're sitting there, your feet start to just burn up in the summer.
I can't imagine how anybody can work on these engines.
Oh, I
Because in
know.
case those are people who don't know about it, everything is crammed into that little tiny space.
Turn sideways, upside down. Yeah, it's not pretty.
yeah, we learned a lot about that when
Yeah.
we broke down in Lake George when they pulled everything out, and he said, "Oh yeah, this would have caught on fire if you'd gone a little farther," and so.
It just thrills you to know stuff like that, doesn't it? Did you?
We've added some little extras like this horn.
The horn inside didn't work so well, so we got
The horn inside doesn't work, so
roll down the window.
roll down the
Just
window.
get out of the way.
Yeah, Paul's on that side. I said, if that car cuts in front of us, Paul, hit the horn.
I think you need one of those old-fashioned Ooga horns on there.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That'd be
From
great.
the old Model A's or whatever they were.
But you know, it's a pretty functional camper, really. I mean, it's, you know, for what we need it to do, it gets us around, and you know, if we do break down and God forbid we have to stay somewhere, there's enough room in there to sleep 5 people. So, and there's a fridge and there's a stove, and
Well, we
it
can't.
doesn't work.
Can't get the figure out how to start those things.
we know they work. We just don't know how to do it yet.
on you.
At some
Before
point,
you fix it for us. Yeah.
at some point in time, though, if you keep this one or upgrade it, if the
The budget.
the gods and the muses are with you,
Right.
I still think you ought to paint some gaudy design.
Oh yeah.
And I think you ought to design
You
it
gotta do that.
We'll defer
Yeah.
to John on
so
that.
people know you're coming and going.
Right. Well, it is kind of a retro show, and you can see we got Scooby-Doo seat covers
Oh,
in
I
there.
saw that. Those are classics, that's for
They
sure.
sure are. Well, you want to take a tour of the
I
inside?
think we ought to walk inside. You guys go first, and we'll follow, and we'll see what it's all about.
Room in there.
Boy, I'll tell you, everything is familiar because they don't change many things. You sure that step is going to hold me? Well,
Let's see.
I made it.
Make sure you're rolling tape. In case
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
This is good. Thank God for a little sunshine to warm it up a couple degrees in here anyway. Now, have you done any other modifications in here to accommodate your equipment for editing or anything? Or?
No, not really. We throw all it when we're traveling. Throw all the gear on the couch over there, and just hope we don't have to slam on the brakes too hard.
I see you're sharing your seat with
Well, this is kind of funny. This was at one of the garage sales we stopped at. We picked this guy up. I mean, it's kind of, we think it's funny. They have a smoking frog for stuffed animals. It's definitely from days gone by.
I kind of
and,
like them myself.
Yeah. We pick up some interesting things along the way for $1, $2, you know, here and there. And
Snowman.
yeah, we had a snowman we picked up for a couple $2 that made it in the show. But you know what's nice about this is if we are making a long haul, you know, if two people wanted to lay down, or we have the kids, you know, we bring the kids. A lot of the time they love the camper, so it's really kind of an adventure. It's better than driving around in a car, that's for sure. Even though it's a little more expensive, you know, 7 miles of the gallon. But
I think there are a lot of lessons to be learned every time you meet new people, but there are lessons to be learned about these 3 folks. And that is something that I've talked about all the time in my column and on this show. Don't be afraid to do a little adventure.
absolutely,
You know? Do a little adventure. Sitting home playing video games for 6 hours a day and never building whatever those kids built out front here. I can't tell if it's an old fort or a snowman.
yeah,
or
it's an
whatever.
old fort,
But-
snow fort.
But get outside and discover the outside, the outdoors.
And the other thing is get off the highway. Everyone's always in a hurry to go from point A to point B,
Yeah,
but
never
if you
look
get
at
on
what
the
you
back
see.
roads, there's so much to see, and it's, you know, far more interesting than the interstate.
and we're finding places by accident as well. I mean, we map out our trips, but we find places all the time that we had no idea were there, and we'll stop and we'll talk to people. And
We'll set stuff up for later.
The garage sale was an accident. We didn't plan the garage sale.
that's right.
Yeah.
We were in
This-
Warrensburg just to cover the world's or the best breakfast in North America. We love to eat, so that was reason enough for us to go to
It
Warrensburg.
works for me.
Free meal.
Yeah, for a meal, free meal. So we learned by accident about the world's largest garage sale, which pretty much everybody knows about, but we hadn't been real familiar with it
So if
until.
we didn't know about it, then you know.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, and that person in Denver is not going to know about it. So, and it's Guinness verified. I mean, I went on the
That's,
Guinness website, and
oh,
sure
yeah.
enough,
That
you
is
know,
an amazing sight to go down there and just see. The town has less than 10,000 people that live there, and that one weekend, 100,000 people show up, and it's a sight to behold. And that's going to be on the show. That's going to be viewed right after this. So stick around, and hope you
Yeah.
enjoy it.
You know, it's amazing. It's not so amazing for us because we're well aware of it, but for folks who may see this who don't live right around here, there are many parts of the Adirondacks that are extremely sparsely populated. Not only that, there are some towns that don't have a lot of money, so their roads are not improved like other towns. I learned from a good friend of mine who is a supervisor for the town of Westport a few weeks ago, and we've all been to Westport.
Right.
90% of the roads in Westport are dirt roads.
Wow, that's amazing.
We get on a lot of dirt
Isn't that
roads.
amazing?
Really is.
You do every time you drive to your house.
Does he call that a road?
We were up at the Barton Mines in Gore Mountain,
Yes.
and we were heading up the road, and it was on a pretty rough
was
dirt
shaking
road.
pretty
And
good.
you should have heard this thing. I thought it was
Was it
going to
really?
just
Yeah,
disintegrate.
The little voice is
Was
saying,
that
"What are you doing to me?
Yeah.
I'm never going to do this."
Doors are whipping open. And
We were crossing the bridge once. We were at the where was it?
We were at
Oh,
Sagamore.
Sagamore, and then we're crossing this bridge. And there's a weight limit, and John's daughter there. She goes, "Daddy, I'm scared."
Because it was like 1 ton more or less than what the camper weighed, and
Well,
there
then
was
I
no
can't-
other way for
I
us
can't
to
go
Yeah.
with you if that's the
Yeah,
case.
well, here, Gordy. Now picture this. I'm driving, of course, right? Most of the time I'm driving. They all get out of the camper. and watch me go across.
I got the camera out, and we shot him coming across.
Including my kids. They left me in the camper, too.
Well, I'm
Paul's
saying-
shooting the whole thing. This will be good. This will be good.
Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful. Have you ever done? I told you we went to Camp Kettle, which its founders would call an Adirondack camp, but in the truest sense of the word, those beautiful, charming, and sometimes really bodacious Adirondack camps would be a wonderful subject for.
That's what we did. We
for a show?
that was
You did that whole-
Sagamore Lodge down in
just
Racket Lake.
Sagamore, or did you do?
That's
it?
the only one we did so far.
But I agree. There could be a series in that.
Oh, there could be a great series because some aren't being used anymore. But that's half the charm.
Oh,
Just to
yeah.
go in through the
Right.
broken doors and imagine what luxury there was there 100
Right.
years ago.
Yeah, and the Sagamore Lodge is pretty well kept up. It's a national historic landmark now. And they have an outdoor bowling alley. I don't know if you've been down there, but it's
Kind
pretty
of tough right about now.
No.
It's amazing.
That would be.
Yeah,
The ball goes halfway and
Yeah,
stops.
right.
Say
Yeah,
no.
it was the Vanderbilts that built it.
Curling.
It's kind of a playground for the rich and famous way back when.
Well, you know, the Adirondack region has been a playground for the rich and famous for a long, long time. We've all seen the old photographs and the old movie footage. And there was a man by the name of Seneca Ray Stoddard, who was the most famous of all the Adirondack photographers. And a friend of mine had a huge collection of his artwork and has since died in Saranac Lake. But there is a museum.
I think it's the Chapman Museum.
Yes, the
Yeah.
Chapman Museum,
Yeah.
where thousands of Seneca Ray Stoddard's photographs exist for people who want to check on that. The old photographs that he took way back when, and
yeah.
talk about nostalgia.
Right.
When you see how people camped
Yeah.
and what campers looked like in 1915.
Right.
And when guys like Henry Ford and his buddies would come and make a camping tour of the Adirondack region with those old Ford cars with camper things on the back and trailers. And,
Yeah, there's lots of
tents
great
and-
history. Another place we went to was the North Creek Railroad Station, and that's where Teddy Roosevelt had found out that he was basically the next president of the United States.
Yeah, McKinley had been killed
Shot.
in the Panamanian Games, and he was in, and Teddy Roosevelt was up here hiking or
on
something.
Mount Marcy.
yeah.
He was out Mount Marcy, and he got the word and started to come down. When he got to the North Creek Railroad Station, he had heard, that McKinley had died, and he was the next president. So
Yeah, actually, because we found this out when we went to Isle of Mont. When McKinley was shot, he was attending a dinner in Isle of Mont. But there was at the time they didn't think he was going to die, so he went on with his adventure. Then, when he found out he was the president, that's where he was. So.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
I think we read that on a plaque or something when we went to Island. Say, well, we're supposed to know this.
Well, so many people are really knowledgeable of the history of the Adirondacks, and we're meeting so many of these people when we're out and about, museum directors and what have you, and we get all sorts of story ideas from that as well. Like you even mentioning the ghost stories of the Adirondacks and great camps, and how the presidents love the Adirondacks. There's history there as well.
Tremendous.
So we're exploring all that. We're just
plenty of stories, that's for sure.
Yeah.
We're not going to run out of topics anytime
Something
soon.
else Calvin and I have discovered when we've made our own little tours is that history can be rewritten just because it's in a book. And it can be a prestigious, ponderous, large tome that some famous historian wrote about. History can be rewritten, and we proved that with the Battle of Plattsburgh or the Battle of Lake Champlain when they found an anchor. and they had no idea that's where the confiance was during the Battle of Plattsburgh. So experts came to town. They put a huge grid on the gym floor at Plattsburgh Air Force Base, figured out what all the trajectories were and where the ships went, and history was actually rewritten about the Battle of Plattsburgh. You mentioned Teddy Roosevelt. He wrote one of the best histories there is about the Battle of Plattsburgh. If he were alive today, he'd say, "Oh, that's what happened." But history can be rewritten. I do a lot of research for the column that I write, and you'll find 15 websites with 15 opinions about, you know, how something first developed. And a lot of it, you know, you're going back the early days of written history, and a lot of it's pure conjecture. So we don't mind rewriting the history book, but we love to talk to people to get their opinions and what they think, and I'm sure you all do.
Yeah.
Well, I think we also we really like the idea, and we've talked about this a lot, the idea of promoting the Adirondacks, and especially for these smaller towns that we visit, Warrensburg and some other places, they don't have big budgets to promote their town. So this is a way to help them get the word out about what they're doing down there, and everybody's been really gracious.
We've done a lot of programs for the North Country fairs. Have you ever considered
fairs near here, or
Well, you know, you mentioned Westport, one of the most historical fairgrounds in the United States, right there at Westport, right?
Yeah, it really is. And I don't know, there's something about an atmosphere of a fair, a county fair especially, that is just so...
The food, Paul. It's just the food.
Well, it works. You can't beat a sausage.
Yeah, you could twist our arm to probably cover the fairs. You know.
But, you know, talk about historic places. Floral Hall, one of the buildings down there at the Westport Fairgrounds, it's just, when I walk into it, you can feel all the stuff that's happened for way over 100 years. Now they're finally getting some grant money from one of those towns you just mentioned that has no money to rebuild and restore Floral Hall as an historic building, and it's really, really neat. You know, because almost all of us, no matter how old we are, have fond memories of fairs, right? Carnivals and fairs as little kids.
Carnivals are good too. That's good carnies.
Carney, follow the life of a carny. We thought about that as well. Right?
Are you sure you want to?
Hey, we already have the camper, so we'd be living in luxury and style, you know.
Don't bring your daughters.
Kids stay home.
Bring your daughters. And make sure that the jail cell is large enough for all.
One of the projects we are thinking of doing this summer, if we can get the funding, is a story on the rodeo. When we did a show for PBS on the U.S. Thunderbirds, the flying squad.
I remember that was a good one.
We went to the rodeo in Wyoming, and it's called the Cheyenne Frontier Days, and we met up with the people that run it, and they were very gracious, and they said, "Come on back and do a story on us." So it's a really interesting. I mean, these guys that do the rodeo, it's just a whole different breed. I mean, there was guys in neck braces that couldn't really move, and they're getting on this bull, and you know, I wouldn't get on it in a healthy state. So we're thinking of going and following one of them around, and just to see what makes them do that. You know,
behind. You know, I often ask myself that because many years ago, as I told you, I used to ride bulls in rodeos.
Really?
And one of my kids or somebody said to me the other day, "Are you completely?" I said, "Yeah, I was then, and I am now, but I'm not going to get on a bull again these days." For some reason, I thought the bulls were. Somebody said, "Do you want to learn to ride bulls or broncos or horses?" And I said, "It looks like the bull is a little shorter and about as wide as I am." Whoa! The first time is still a blur after all of these years. Well, you know what, guys? This has been.
You just want to get inside, don't you, Gordy?
Okay.
I got my warm undies on. Don't worry about that. This has been so much fun.
Well, same for
I have
us.
to thank you, John, and Paul, and you too, John, for your friendship and your suggestion that we join you in making the very first presentation here in the North Country of this venture. Before we leave, I want to ask one more question. I've always got one more question. About promoting this, about making arrangements with PBS stations to air this show. How do you do that? It sounds like a task that's beyond belief.
It can be a laborious task. You have to be a little more organized, I guess, and that happened through a bunch of years while I was at PBS. All the contacts that you make, you kind of keep in contact with all those people, and when I left and when Paul left and John left, we kind of reconnected with all those people out in the system and said, listen, we got these programs that are coming up there. We want to give them to free of charge to PBS stations. Would you be interested in? Right away, stations are emailing back saying, oh, yep, that's great. Sure, we'd love to air the program. So it's kind of old-fashioned marketing. But with Paul's other show, the Visions program, the PBS station in Albany is actually going to act as the presenting station. So we're actually partnering with that station to get the word out.
Sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, so
The trick is to give it away. I mean, that sounds like you're giving away something that's valuable, but these stations don't have a lot of money to buy local programming,
Right.
but they'll take it because they want the shows, but they don't really have a budget. So by you giving it to them, more stations take it and you have a bigger viewing audience, and then you can go to a corporate funder and say, this is how many people are going to be seeing it through the stations. And it gives you a bigger audience, and so far we're still looking for that corporate funding.
well, there's actually a couple that have come on that we can't announce yet, but there are a couple, a big local organizations in the Plattsburgh area that are stepping up to the plate, which is good.
There are, for a lot of reasons, it behooves corporations to attach themselves to things
Yeah.
like this.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, I can't say enough that the words Adirondacks, Adirondack Park, Adirondacks, have a certain mystique and magic and charm for people around the world. For example, people in Japan love the Adirondacks. They've attached themselves to the Adirondacks as the most charming place in America. And so they vacation here and spend a lot of money here to come to this area. And that's true of many countries around the world. If they haven't heard of Boulder, Colorado, they have heard of the Adirondacks.
Yep.
And so there's a lot to do and see up there.
There sure is.
And I'm sure, and I'm always forever the optimist until I've fallen in the snow and can't get up. I believe what you're doing is successful. And if your enthusiasm, your energy, your creative spirit has anything to do with it, this show and everything else you do will be successful.
Well, thank you. Yeah, we're hoping that people will enjoy it, and
Pretty fun making it. So
It was fun,
yeah, a lot of fun making
There's
it.
a lot to be
It's
said
fun,
for that,
man.
the experience. as I
Oh,
said before.
absolutely.
That sense of adventure, get it done, and then if we can make a couple of bucks and
right.
survive till next summer, that's okay too.
Yeah.
Any other questions that come into your mind, Calvin? I think we've covered the gamut here today.
Great.
I hope you stay tuned because you're going to see that wonderful episode with the world's largest.
The world's largest garage sale in Warrensburg, as well as the B&B, the Cornerstone Victorian with the best breakfast in North America.
Yeah, it was a good breakfast.
It's a
was
good looking
really
building, I
hear-
can
I hear a good
imagine.
breakfast.
John had to hold the
I had to
lights while
watch.
we ate.
Well, there's three of you. I'm sorry.
Gentlemen, thanks again for
Thank
inviting
you.
us out on this cool
Thanks, Calvin.
February day. Thanks, Calvin, for being here. And who knows where we're going to be next time for our little corner.
Like garage sales? How about 1,000 over 2 days in one place? We're going to show you every single one. Coming up next on the Hidden Adirondacks.
Everyone loves a road trip, and with this series, you get to ride along with us to some of the more unique and out-of-the-way places that the Adirondacks have to offer.
You see, it all started not too long ago. After several long meetings around the office, some hard decisions were made about how to best explore the Adirondack backroads.
With minimal funding, we were able to purchase, well, this beauty. A 1979 GMC Vandura camper.
driven by a little old lady from Anchiota.
Life just doesn't get any better than this. Or so we thought. This bad boy sucks gas like a sailor sucks beer after a 6-month tour of duty.
Not only is the camper a gas hog, it seems to need more attention than we initially thought.
Once the camper was up to snuff, it was time to hit the road.
Well, we've got a great show for you today. We're headed to the gateway of the Adirondacks. Of course, I'm referring to Warrensburg, New York, where the Guinness World Book of Records has verified that it's the home of the world's largest garage sale. Before we start shopping, though, we're going to take you to a very unique bed and breakfast that has a really cool claim to fame. The Cornerstone Victorian is a wonderful bed and breakfast built in the early 1900s. Today it's owned and operated by Doug and Louise, two of the friendliest folks this side of the Big Apple. We're going to find our innkeepers. Oh, there he is. Hi, Doug.
Oh, hi.
How are
Welcome.
you?
Welcome to the Cornerstone Victorian.
Thank you very much.
Nice to have you with us.
Oh, this place is beautiful.
Thank you. We love living here. It's just, the woodwork's phenomenal. It's just, the Adirondacks are great. It's just a super place to be.
Absolutely beautiful.
Yes. Could I give you a little tour before I take you up to the room?
Absolutely. I'll leave my bag here and we'll...
That's fine. Just leave it right there. And this house was built in 1904.
Uh-huh.
So there's 23 different kinds of wood. The man that built it was a local farmer in the area, and he did very well, as you can see. So
God, I guess he did.
And he, one of the beautiful things he did was in this room you can see some of the stained glass. There's like 11 different panels of stained glass
You see that, Freddie?
that he chose to put in there, and so it's just a wonderful house. Hardwoods of all kinds, maple and oak and cherry, and beautiful work that the carpentry was done here.
So, Doug, how long have you and Louise been the innkeepers here?
We are now starting our 3rd year. We came in August of 2000, and we love it. I used to run a hotel with my family in the Catskills, so now we're doing this, which we absolutely love. And when we saw this house, we fell in love with it right away.
Oh,
My
I can see
wife
why.
Saw it, and she's like, in fact, in this room here, this wicker carriage that you see, we
that
raised our
great?
3 children in that, and it's got terrific suspension.
Look at that thing.
We had the Amish; they put in the new rubber on the wheels for us, but it's great. We used to dress them up when they were little and bring them to tea time with that.
Isn't that amazing?
So, and then this
is unbelievable.
mirror, yeah, this came actually from a home in the Warrensburg area, and one of the ladies that used to sell antiques, and so we were able to acquire that, and she's delighted to have it stay in Warrensburg in the Adirondacks here. So,
Unbelievable.
great Victorian piece.
Now this
This is our dining room, and again, some great examples of wood. Terracotta fireplace. These were actually
Very
done right
nice.
in Glens Falls. There's 3 of them in the house, and they used to make those right about 15 miles south of us in Glens Falls.
No kidding.
So beautiful work. Mr. Thompson that built this house, it was his dream. He took 3 houses that were on the property and moved them to the street behind us, named Thompson Street, and then put this house here on the property.
Boy, well done.
Isn't it well done? Again, some beautiful examples of the stained glass there. So
Now, the rooms itself, the accommodations are upstairs.
yes, they're upstairs, and there's 27 rooms in all, but 5 are guest rooms with all private bath. Could I show you? Show you the room?
Would love to see the rooms.
Great.
As I look at this woodwork, Doug, this is no easy feat. I think it would be easy to skimp, but these guys certainly did not.
They didn't skimp anywhere.
Wow.
And this was really his dream house. The original blueprints are on the wall. Just a phenomenal work. The stone, the foundation's 22 inches thick. The granite was taken from the
Is
mountain
it
across
really?
the street. This is our master's chamber, and this would have been, of course, Mr. Thompson's bedroom, but it's a great guest room today. It has a working fireplace. Boy. And in the summer we have candelabra set up, and in the winter there's wood burning there, which is very cozy. This room actually has its own private balcony. Yes, a nice down comforter for you to enjoy.
Gorgeous. Boy, you did such a great job with this.
Thank you. The balcony looks over the perennial garden.
I see that.
We're adding more and more gardens each year as we're here. So it's a wonderful room.
Well, you know, this place is absolutely stunning. That, of course, attracted our attention, but there's also another reason, and it has to do with an award that you guys have won, this prestigious award. Tell us about that.
Yes, we won an award for the best breakfast in North America. Part of the Arrington's Guide. They are a group that does bed and breakfasts throughout Canada and the United States. And so it was a survey done by guests that stay at our inn and other inns all over. And we were chosen for the best breakfast.
And this is in North America.
Yes, in North America. So we're delighted. We're ecstatic when we won that award. And of course, that's my wife's doing. She's the chef, and she does an incredible job. In fact,
I smell. Yeah,
I think you should come try some of our breakfast.
Ready?
Yeah, definitely.
All right, twist my arm,
You too,
Willie.
Paul?
Let's
All
go.
right, let's go.
All right. Best breakfast in North America? We were a little skeptical, but the variety of aromas coming from the kitchen made it immediately apparent that we were in for the gastronomic treat of our lives.
Louise tells us that the first course typically consists of some type of cut-up fresh fruit. This morning, we enjoyed a more than plentiful fruit kebab. It was huge.
Next up was a frosted blueberry scone that immediately melted in your mouth. It just so happens that Louise is well known for her scones. You certainly know why now.
Ice cream isn't just for dessert in Louise's kitchen. We enjoyed vanilla ice cream, accompanied with sliced bananas topped with an Adirondack maple cream. And next came the most amazing layered granola parfait.
Topping off this 5-course experience is the main event. Guests have their choice of a savory or sweet dish. Paul chose the savory, a vegetable quiche and a puff pastry topped with a hollandaise sauce. I chose the sweet offering, lemon French toast topped with lemon curd and fresh fruit. Both dishes are accompanied by fresh meats from Oscar's Smokehouse, and we mean fresh, as Oscar's is just down the road. Boy, Louise, my
hi there.
compliments to the chef.
Well, thanks, John.
This-
Did you get enough?
Enough. Unbelievable. 5 courses.
Yeah, that's kind of what we do every day. We do that for everybody. We serve 5 different courses.
Oh, so that wasn't just special for us?
Not just for you, I'm sorry.
Patty. No, that's great. So everybody gets that very royal treatment when they
That's
come
right, that's right. We try to give everybody enough to eat to send them on the day so that they can enjoy the Adirondacks.
I tell you, we love to eat, but I don't think we're going to eat at all the rest of today.
lunch
Freddie? That was wonderful. And you guys have been great. You know, we're going to kind of go check out the town.
Oh, you're going to find some great bargains.
Hundreds, right?
Oh,
Hundreds,
it's
thousands
fun.
of vendors.
And I hope you get to see every one of them.
We will.
Great.
Thank you so much for your hospitality.
Wonderful. Great to have you here. Come back anytime.
We will. Thank you.
Great.
A little concerned about the light today, John.
I know.
We got some tough shadows I'm going to be working with.
Yeah, I know. I know.
But we'll have to do what we can. Wonder what's taking John so long.
You know,
Now, it may look like John Campbell and I do this show all by ourselves. Occasionally, however, we do bring along some help. His name is John Haliniak, also known as JJ. And he's a talented graphic artist by trade, but he's also perfectly qualified for television production work.
with JJ as our pack mule, production assistant, we were ready for anything. Or so we thought. For just outside the doors of the Victorian were, well, 100,000 people.
You see, the population of Warrensburg expands over 10 times its normal size during this one weekend in October. Now, an event with this many people can hardly be considered hidden, but we were amazed at how many folks have never heard of it. So here we are, ready to capture the event.
Here we are, smack in the middle of the world's largest garage sale. You know what time it is?
Time to shop till we drop.
Aha, let's go.
I've been doing antiques about 15 years. Got into it. My brother-in-law's been doing about 35 years.
Have you been coming here for 15 years?
No, I've been up here for 10 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, up in the Warrensburg area. Really a terrific show up here.
Yeah.
You know, it has a lot to offer. There's really not a lot to say about antiques. It's a personal preference. You know, I mean, you either like it, you buy it, or you leave it.
Right, right.
It's basically bottom line.
You won't believe the variety of items for sale here, from turn-of-the-century antiques to unique collectibles. And if you need to take a break, the people watching is great. You might even spot a celebrity or two.
I'm coming from Bergen County, New Jersey. About 3.5 hour ride. We left Thursday to beat the traffic.
What do you think of this being your first year? What do you think of it?
I'm amazed. I like, so far so good. I've got some really good deals. The food is a whole cornucopia of things to try. But I'm sticking with the Smokies barbecue.
What would you like on your hot dog? Any sauce, ketchup, relish, onions, sauerkraut? This is my first year here, and first year with the garage sale, and as you see, walking around the garage sale, there's a bunch of interesting people, and we have a good time with it. Sell a lot of hot dogs, and of course this hat makes everybody smile all day long.
How many onions do you go through?
Too many. $5.
Still deliver the mail on this day.
I'm Joe Pereira. I'm the treasurer for the senior citizens of Warrensburg, and we keep the facility open here so the public can use the toilet facilities, and we have a little cake and coffee we sell too, just to make a little more donations for our center.
you see the town really swell during this
Oh yeah,
weekend.
oh yeah. They say that close to 100,000 people show up, which you can picture, you can see for yourself.
Well, you know, it looks like a friendly crowd too.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's no disturbance. This is a very friendly town.
Yeah.
Very. And we love to see people come, but that's where everybody makes their real extra winter money to get by with.
How long have you been coming to the world's largest garage sale?
This is my first time. This is my third time.
Third time. Picking up some bargains?
Yes, great bargains. Great bargains.
Where are you from?
I'm from Hinsdale, New Hampshire.
I'm from Shaftesbury, Vermont.
Okay. You guys are longtime buddies?
No, in fact, we just met. I was
just met here at the sale?
Well,
no,
we
no,
have a
no,
mutual friend.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And we're trying to find her. She's lost somewhere. So.
Well, you got the radios going, right?
Thank God for the radios, right.
I came with this other girl last time. We lost each other for 4 hours. We didn't see each other again until the end of the day.
At least there's something to do.
Oh,
right?
yeah, we love it.
Definitely.
Well, this is our
something to
third
do.
time. Now we know better. We have the carts, and we usually have to go back and fill them up again.
I see that. Now, this is your first year. You're coming back, I assume?
I definitely am coming back. Oh, yeah.
Are you
Wait
here
a
for the
second.
whole weekend?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I got to try to find Donna. Donna, can you hear us? Never mind, we're on TV. We can't be bothered with the town hall. You missed out on it.
We don't even know where the town hall is.
Yeah. Now, not only will you find the traditional vendors who come here to showcase their wares, you'll see the average homeowner of Warrensburg as well, showcasing their wares. And that's really where it all started, with a bunch of homeowners getting together, and voila, you've got the world's largest garage sale.
It's just amazing. Everything goes. You can find anything here.
Are you at the beginning of your shopping or the end?
No, we came down one side, now we're on the other side.
Oh no, you're gonna run out of hands.
We trying to take it all in.
Oh, Paul, check this out. Whew.
Colder than ours.
A little bit. What do you think, Freddie?
It's you.
Oh yeah. How do I buy this bad boy?
We got a bike, a fishing pole, Christmas paper, lots of other, I don't know even what's in here, shirts, pleats, what else, dishes, and our special wagon to hold everything, Dale Earnhardt picture, you name it, we've got it.
And a lizard.
My wife bought an adobe ladder.
Antique baskets.
Tea
I got a new shirt.
Tea
Hand painted.
Tea kettle to paint
Teapot.
flowers on.
Here. Cupcake tins. Oh, basket.
Beautiful basket.
Beautiful
You gotta
basket.
see this basket.
Don't tell anybody from the Grand Union that this is their car show, okay?
We're only borrowing it.
We're only borrowing it.
I love this. Look at that. That's a buy. It's cranberry glass. Isn't that beautiful?
Very nice.
It's for my electricity goes out. I got this, and I'll show you my rug. Here. Show you my rug. Look at this rug for my daughter. She's got a little dog. And then I got this for me. This is our second trip, though. Isn't it? Yes.
Great.
Yeah, you did good.
I bought this really cool Powerpuff Girl lunchbox.
I bought some patches.
This is like the best bargain of the day. 50 cents. Yes. Wow. It's almost brand new. I had to tag it back, but I took it off. Come, it's really awesome here.
I get a coffee and it's the best thing.
If you ever get a chance to go to Warrensburg, New York, make sure you visit usually the first couple of weeks of October. Why? Because that's when the world's largest garage sale is happening. Now, a couple things to remember. Wear comfortable shoes, bring a little wagon to carry your goods around in, and on the back streets, that's where the best deals are happening. Oh yeah, one more thing. Don't bring your RV.
Go ahead, bring it back.
Hold on.
Go slow. Take
Hold
it back
on.
slow. Whoa! Jeez, she just hooked her chair. Nice smooth 16-point turn. Go ahead. Her chair. Bad. Nice. Huh? Told ya.